जय राधा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर हरि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर हरि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram, Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki Jai, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. So, before we begin, I'd like to request blessings from all the assembled devotees here. Many senior devotees, a lot of you are more senior to me. Also, blessings from everyone who's listening online. Please bless me so that I can say something useful on today's verse. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram chaiva narotamam, Namam chaiva narotamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam mudirayet, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki, Krishneshpadamupagate, Krishneshpadamupagate, Dharma Jnanadi Bisaha, Dharma Jnanadi Bisaha, Kalau nashta drisham esha, Kalau nashta drisham esha, Puranarko dunodita, Puranarko dunodita. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Snigdha Cheta Supraneta Vagmenam Charasaputam Prabhupada Kata Prana Naumi Bhakti Charu Padam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Bhashate Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we are continuing the reading from the 7th chapter, Canto 2. The chapter is entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. And today we are on text 22. Kshatram, no, the meter is Brahma Samhita meter, isn't it? Kshatram shayaya vihino pritpapritam mahatma Kshatram Abritam satatma Brahmadruk ujita patham narakarti lipsu Udyantyasava vanikantakantakam ugraveryas Trisapta kritva urudhara parasvadena Kshatram kshayaya vidinopabritam mahatma Brahmadruk ujita patham narakarti lipsu Udantyasava bhavani kanatanka Udyantyasava bhavani kantakam ugrabiryas Trisapta kritva urudara parasvadena Kshatram kshayaya vidinopabritam mahatma Brahmadruk ujita patham narakarti lipsu Udyantyasava vanikantakam ugraviryas Trisapta kritva urudara parasvadena Udyantyasava bhavinakakanta ugrayas Trisapta kritva urudaya paraspadena Tatram tatram vivido pratam pramatma Trisapta uta urudavamrasavena Ujita Patan Narakati Lipsu Mataji's. Brahma Guru Ujita Patam Narakarti Lipsu Udyantya Sab Abanikanta Takam Saptaketa Urudara Paraspadena. Okay, word for word. Kshatram, the royal order. Kshayaya, for the sake of diminishing. Vidina, by destination. Upabhritam, increased in proportion. Mahatma, the Lord in the form of the great sage Parshuram. Brahmadruk, the ultimate truth in Brahman. Ujita Patham, those who have given up the path of the absolute truth. Naraka Arti Lipsu, desirous to suffer pain in hell. Udanti, exacts. Asau, all those. Avani Kantakam, thorns of the world. Ugravirya, awfully powerful. Three Sapta, thrice 7 times. Kritva, performed. Urudhara, very sharp. Parashvadena, by the great chopper. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the ruling administrators, who are known as the Kshatriyas, turn astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord, in his incarnation as the sage Parshuram, uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns of the earth. Thus, he thrice 7 times uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper. Purport. The Kshatriyas, or the ruling administrators of any part of the universe, either on this planet or other planets, are factually the representatives of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, and they are meant to lead the subjects toward the path of God realization. Every state and its administrators, regardless of the nature of the administration, monarchy or democracy, oligarchy or dictatorship or autocracy, have the prime responsibility to lead the citizens towards God realization. This is essential for all human beings, and it is the duty of the Father, spiritual master, and ultimately the state to take up the responsibility of leading the citizens towards this end. The whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who rebelled against the will of the Supreme Father and thus became conditioned by the material nature. The force of material nature gradually leads one to a hellish condition of perpetual pain and miseries. Those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditioned life are called Brahma Jyotita Pathas, or persons going against the path of absolute truth, and they are liable to be punished. Lord Parashuram, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, appeared in such a state of worldly affairs and killed all the miscreant kings 21 times. Many Kshatriya kings fled from India to other parts of the world at that time. And according to the authority of Mahabharata, the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India because of Parashuram's program of chastisement. The kings or administrators are similarly chastised in all circumstances whenever they become godless and plan a godless civilization. This is the order of the Almighty. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaisnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakans Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're reading this chapter, which is entitled The Scheduled Incarnations and the Specific Duties or activities. And so in this chapter, various avatars are described. Guna avatar, Lila avatar, Manvantara avatar, Shakti Avesh avatar, etc., etc. So we've heard of many incarnations, and this particular text refers to the incarnation of Lord Parashuram. So who's speaking this chapter? Just some background. Who's speaking in this chapter? Who's giving the verses here? Anybody? Lord, yes. Somebody said Lord Brahma. Yes, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is answering questions by Narada Muni. 6 questions he asked at the beginning of chapter 5. And Lord Brahma is answering. So everything began even a little bit before, where Parikshit Maharaj was asked by Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami about 3 things. How does the Lord create, maintain, and destroy the universes? How does he enact primary and secondary creations? And how does he expand himself? So Shukdev Goswami at that time said that Narad Muni asked the same questions to Brahma. So I will answer you quoting that conversation, the Samvad. So this is the way of preaching. We always lean on the previous acharyas. We always pick on what we've heard before from previous acharyas, and rather than make up things ourselves or try and answer, we always, whenever possible, quote from Shastra, quote from previous conversations from exalted devotees. So, this verse is Parashuram. Prabhupada begins like I always do. Today the class is going to be short. Sakata Priya Prabhu, we can go on till 9. Okay. I got the permission. Oh, fantastic. I thought it was going to say finish by 8:30. Okay. So I'd like to go through, normally whenever I do a class, I like to go through the purport, line by line, just to try and understand, get behind Prabhupada's sort of thinking around this verse. So Prabhupada begins the purport by saying the Kshatriyas, or the ruling administrators of any part of the universe, either on this planet or on other planets, are factually the representatives of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. And they are meant to lead the subjects towards the path of God realization. So Kshatriya, Kshat, is a sandhi of two words, Kshat and Trayate. So Kshat means injury and Trayate means to save from. So Kshatriyas are meant to save the citizens from injury. So yes, they are, of course, their primary duty. We see nowadays primary duty of Kshatriya is to protect the citizens. When we say Kshatriyas nowadays, we talk about the military, for example. It's just a shadow of the Kshatriyas. But anyway, they are supposed to protect the citizens. But that's where everybody's left it now. But actually the prime duty, as Prabhupada explains in this purport, of a Kshatriya is to lead the citizens from ignorance to knowledge, to lead people on the spiritual path, to increase people's knowledge and get them to a point where they can go back to Godhead. So in previous ages, these kings, they were called Rajarshis. So sandhi of two words again, Raja and Rishi. They were Rajarshis. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse that talks about Rajarshis. Can anybody remember what text it was? 4:2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. Sakale naha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So this word rajarshayaha is the same, Rajarshi, Raja and Rishaya, the saintly kings. So the translation for that verse is, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in this way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So saintly kings, all kings in those days were saintly, and they knew their prime duty was to lead the citizens from ignorance to knowledge. Prabhupada continues the purport. This is essential for all human beings, and it is the duty of the father, spiritual master, and ultimately the state to take up the responsibility of leading the citizens towards the end. So no one should become a leader according to the Shastras. Nobody should become a leader unless he's capable of delivering the citizens or his followers from the path of repeated birth and death. Again, the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, Rishabhadev. Famous verse, anybody remember that verse? Talking about how you should not lead, you should not be a father, spiritual master, etc. Anybody? Okay, so yeah, it's a Guru na satyat, Svajano na satyat, Pita na satyat, Janani na satyat, Daivam na tasyat, na patishta sasyat, Namo chiyetya samupeta mrityum. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. I've never understood this worshipable demigod part, because can you become a demigod? I suppose you can become a demigod by acting a certain way in this life, get promoted and become a demigod, yeah. But one should not end up in that situation unless we are in a situation to deliver our followers. So Prahlad Maharaj confirms this. So sorry, next point before I read Prahlad Maharaj's verse. Prabhupada continues the purport saying, the whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who rebelled against the will of the Supreme Father and thus became conditioned by the material nature. The force of material nature gradually leads one to the hellish conditions of perpetual pains and miseries. So just a reminder, we're saying all these things. Prabhupada is speaking this purport on the background of the pastimes of Parashuram. And as we will read later, Parashuram chastised, not just chastised, but destroyed 21 times all the Kshatriyas because they were not behaving in this way. And they were leading people to hell. So Prahlad Maharaj, in his answer to his father, this is 7th canto, 5th chapter, he says, again, this is referring to how unless the leaders are training the citizens, followers, to lead a path of spiritual life, this is what's going to happen. He says, Matirna Krishne Parata Svatova Mitho Vipadyate Griha Vitanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punah Punaschar Vitacharvananam. See, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions of life and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. So this is a situation where we know, and I think from people who I know, maybe 80-90% of them are leading this kind of life. Just materialistic life, work hard, make money, try and enjoy life. And this is what this verse is saying, that these people, because they never turn to Krishna, their future is very, very bleak. Prabhupada continues, those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditioned life are called Brahmojita Pathas, or persons going against the path of the absolute truth, and they are liable to be punished. Again, a sandhi of two words, Brahma. Brahma refers to the absolute truth, and Ujitaha. Ujitaha means abandoned. So people who abandon the path to the absolute truth, this is their situation. Prabhupada continues, Lord Parashuram, the incarnation of personality of Godhead, appeared in such a state of worldly affairs and killed all the miscreant kings 21 times. Parashuram, Parashu and Rama. Parashu refers to an axe or a chopper. And Rama, of course, Lord Ram, or his name was Ram, so he was called Parashu Ram, one who actually possesses a chopper, a sharp chopper. And he was, of course, one of the avatars. We're discussing in this chapter different avatars. Which type of avatar is he? There are 6 principal kinds of avatars: Purusha avatar, Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Manvantar avatar, Shakti avatar, and one before that is Yuga avatar. Yeah. So which kind of avatar? Prabhuji was saying. He's actually, anybody else here? He's a jiva, yes. Jiva, okay. So he's a jiva, but actually he is classified under the Shakti Avesh avatar. He has his Shakti, and what was his Shakti? His particular Shakti, that is, of course, that is the speciality, and this is why they call Shakti Avesh avatar. What was his Shakti? He says, specifically empowered to cut down rogues and demons. And in Sanskrit, term for that is Dushta Damana Shakti. Dushta means miscreants, Damana, suppress, Shakti. Any other examples of Shakti avatars? Anybody? Matajis? There are many, many. Yes, Prabhu? Srila Prabhupada, of course, yes, Srila Prabhupada is Shakti avatar. Shakti means something that is extraordinary, that is possessed by a person, really extraordinary, and that person is called Shakti avatar. Prabhupada had the amazing ability to preach so powerfully that he could just, by looking at somebody, he could convert him into a devotee. And he, within a short time, he met more than 10,000 devotees and 108 temples all over the world. And that is just a feat that is completely impossible to imagine. So, of course, Shakti avatar. Any other avatars? Shakti avatar? Yes, Prabhu? Muhammad, yes, exactly. Muhammad. Jesus, of course, he was son of God, but you can classify him as also as a Shakti avatar. Other very famous ones are Sheshanag. Sheshanag and Vaikuntha, empowered for the personal service of the Supreme Lord. Seva Sevana Shakti. Then Anantadev, empowered to bear all the planets within the universe. Bhudharana Shakti. Lord Brahma, what was his Shakti? Creation. Lord Brahma's Shakti was Shrishti Shakti, to create cosmic manifestations. Then the four Kumaras, their Shakti. Renunciation, that was probably true as well, but here their Shakti is known as Gnana Shakti. They were empowered to distribute knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Narad Muni, devotion, Bhakti Shakti. Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj was empowered to rule and maintain the living entities, Palana Shakti. And of course, Parshuram, Dushta Damana Shakti. So Parshuram was a son, what was his father's name? Jamadagni. Jamadagni was a sage, and Parshuram was his son, one of 7 sons, I believe. Parshuram was apparently an ardent disciple of Lord Shiva, and he got lots of boons from Lord Shiva. He actually got his axe, the weapon, from Lord Shiva. He also, Lord Shiva gave him also a bow and arrow as a gift. It is said that Parshuram still lives. He is there in the Mandara Mountains, the range of mountains on the east coast of India, somewhere near Odisha, I believe. So he's one of the Chiranjeevis, person who never dies. So he's still around. So 9th canto, 15 and 16, 2 chapters talk about Parshuram, and it's described there. There's a few pastimes we can go through here. Parshuram, so there was a king actually. There was a king, very powerful king called Kartavirya Arjuna. Kartavirya Arjuna was a very powerful king. He had worshipped Lord Dattatreya, and by the boon of Dattatreya, he had 1,000 arms and lots of mystic siddhis. So he was very, very powerful. Just to demonstrate his power, he was once sporting with his female associates in the Ganga. And just for fun, with his 1,000 arms, he blocked the flow of the Ganga. Just with his arms, he was able to, people who've been to Mayapur, been in the Ganga, you can see how the force of Ganga is, but he was able to just stop it. And because of that action, upstream, things started to flood. And Ravana at that time, he had a camp there with his followers just by the bank of the Ganga, and his whole camp was completely flooded. And he then found out who was doing this, and he came down to chastise Kartavirya Arjuna. And we all know how powerful how powerful Ravana was. By this time he was actually dominating even the demigods. So he came down, found out Kartavirya Arjuna, and he challenged him. And there was a big fight. But in that fight, Ravana lost. Imagine the power of Kartavirya Arjuna. Ravana actually lost. But Kartavirya Arjuna, just as a cat would catch a mouse and let it go, similarly said, okay, go. I'm not going to kill you. But this was the power of this personality. So once Kartavirya Arjuna was hunting in the forest with his soldiers and ministers, and he came across the hermitage of sage Jamadagni, father of Parshuram. So when he arrived there with his entourage, sage Jamadagni, as would be his duty as a Brahmana, he welcomed them and then, looked after them, fed them really well, and seemed like, even the food was very opulent, even the things which were served in was gold plates and amazing. And this king is asking, how come you got all this? You are just in a little hermitage here. And so Jamadagni actually said, I have a Kamadhenu cow, a Shurvi cow. So the cow provides everything to me. So this king, Kartavirya Arjuna, got greedy. And he said, you as a simple mendicant, you don't really need this cow. Give it to me, I can put it to better use. And of course, he says, no, this is not just a cow. It's like my daughter. I'm not going to let you have the cow. But the Kshatriyas, they're passionate. And once they decide to have something, they will not let go. So he orders the servants to just forcefully take the cow. So there was a similar incident in the Mahabharata. Anybody remember where? In the Ramayana? Can you expand on that? Yeah, so Vishwamitra and Vashishta. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Vishwamitra similarly took the cow from Vashishta. So here, Parshuram wasn't there at the time. So when he came back and find out what happened, so anyway, the cow was taken by Kartavirya Arjuna to his capital, Mahismati. Parshuram came back and he was furious. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, he became as angry as a trampled snake. And he chased Kartavirya Arjuna. He went all the way to Mahismati. And taking his fierce chopper, he fought the army of this king, Kartavirya Arjuna. And he actually, very powerful king. So he also had big army. It said there's 17 Akshauhini sort of parties, they were sent to fight him. But single-handedly, Parshuram, with his chopper, killed all the 7. Imagine, in the whole of Mahabharata, in the Kurukshetra war, how many Akshauhini troops were there? 18, right? 11 and 7. And this was just one short of that. But Parshuram single-handedly destroyed all of them. So this was his power. And when King Kartavirya Arjuna himself, with his 1,000 arms, he came to fight him, Parshuram actually chopped off all his 1,000 arms in one go and then chopped off his head as well. So this was power of Parshuram. He then, of course, took the cow back, to Kamadhenu cow back to his father. But surprisingly, his father was not happy. His father said that, wasn't necessary for you to create so much death. And you should not have, we are Brahmanas, we are supposed to forgive. And because of this, all the killing you've done, you need to what do you call it? Repent. You got to repent, and you need to. So he did penances, traveled to holy places for 1 whole year. So that's one pastime. There was another pastime. There's 2 or 3, but we'll do one more, and then we'll stop his 8:45. So Jamadagni's wife's name was Renuka. Very, very chaste wife. So Renuka once went to the Ganga to fetch some water a sacrifice that her husband was going to perform. So when she was there at the Ganga, some Gandharvas were sporting there in the water. And the Gandharvas are well known to be very, very, very handsome, very good looking personalities. And particularly when she saw Chitrarath, the king of the Gandharvas, he was absolutely stunning looking. So this wife of Jamadagni, Renuka became a little bit, I wouldn't even say lusty, but she just had a flicker of thought which was negative for a chaste woman. She was just, enamored by the beauty of this person. And that's all that happened. And also because of the incident, she was a little bit late coming home. Jamadagni, being a very, very powerful sage, he could see what had happened. So this was a mental, he considered this to be mental, what you call it? So he said, because of this, mental adultery, because of this you have to be killed. This was how strict the Vedic times things were. Fortunately, now in the Kali Yuga, we don't get sins for what we think about, fortunately. Otherwise, we would all be in hell. But in those days, it was the case that you would actually, even by your thoughts, you would get punished. We would incur karma even by your thoughts. So, Jamadagni, he orders his sons. At that time, Parshuram again was a little bit far away, but he said to the 6 sons, kill your mother. The son says, no way, we're not going to kill our mother. And then Parshuram arrived, and he gave the same order to Parshuram. So Parshuram, straight away, accepting the order of his father, he chopped the head of his mother off. That seems like really cruel, right? Heartless, just you killing your mother like this. But Parshuram understood his father, and he knew that there is a way back out of this. So his father, Jamadagni, was very, very pleased with him sort of accepting the order straight away. So he says, I ask for a boon. And of course, what boon does Parshuram ask? I want you to make my mother and my brothers alive again. And because of their boon, they became alive again. So this is a little bit about Parshuram. Many, many things to talk about. A very, very powerful personality. So we'll stop here. Time is moving on. So just a short time we have for any comments, any realizations, any additions anybody wants to make. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, you have amazing knowledge, spiritual knowledge, probably amazing, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just repeating what I'm reading from Prabhupada's books,
Thank
really.
you so much. Thank you so much. When I first heard the verse, I immediately thought of Queen Elizabeth II. It just jumped into my mind. So do you have any reflection on that Kshatriya that's left this material world?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, monarchy nowadays is not the same, but I suppose as the Queen, our late Queen, she was kind and she was, wasn't in the same category as Prabhupada puts it in terms of taking people back to Godhead and making sure citizens become religious. But then, of course, monarchy is not the same. They don't have absolute power nowadays. It's all democracy. And she was more or less a figurehead. But she did whatever she could in her capacity, supporting the Church of England, didn't she? And, She also, I remember somebody saying here just a couple of weeks ago, about the time when she passed away, that she was given a Bhagavad Gita when somebody was doing a portrait of hers. And she read bits of Bhagavad Gita and made a nice comment about it. So there you go, that's to her credit.
So would you want to speculate as to what kind of a life she may get next? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very, very difficult to say that, because karma acts in a very, very complicated way. And whilst she was a good person, as we know, she was a meat eater. She had, she was, a karmi at the end of the day, still accumulating wealth and all that. But whilst she had a good side, there was also lots of things which were not Vedic. So yes, you don't know. You really don't know. Depends on how. And these karmas catch up with you after many, many lifetimes as well. So you don't know what our previous activities were in previous lives. She had a wonderful life. She was born in a royal family and enjoyed opulence all this life because of her previous karmas. Whether she's used up all of them and now she's going to go back to somewhere square one, or whether she's got still some left to continue, we don't know. But it's difficult to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very nice class and
Thank you.
thoughtful discourse. You mentioned one pastime about how the cow was stolen, and previously similar pastime was there also. Are there any other similar pastimes that are like replicated like that in the scriptures?
Yes. With this particular cow, there's one more where there is the pastime of Bhishma, isn't it? Bhishma, in his previous life, he was, what do you call him? He was one of the demigods. There's a particular name, but I forget it now. And there were 7 brothers. And one of the wives wanted this cow, Vasishta's cow. And she insisted that everybody tried to convince her that, look, the cow belongs to Vasishta, you can't really take her. But she insisted. And then they all planned and actually kidnapped this cow. And as a result of this, they were cursed to take birth on the earthly planet. And the curse was, yes, you'll take a birth. And then when they repented, there was, like as sometimes happens, it was softened by the fact that, okay, you'll take birth, but then you will be killed immediately by your mother. And this is the story of Ganga and Bhishma. And this Ganga and Ganga marrying Shantanu. And she kills all 7. And the 8th one was meant, because the 8th one was the one, so there was 8 of them. 8th one was the one who actually stole the cow. Others made the plan, but he actually went. So it says he will have to live for a long time. And that was Bhishma. So he had to live for such a long time. Others were delivered straight away. Back to the spiritual world, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu. Wait for the mic. So
just to say it, I think they were the 8 Vasus.
Vasus, that's right, yes. There were 8 Vasus, yes. Thank you. Okay, anything from the mic? Yes. Oh, yeah, sorry, microphone, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for your class. I just always have been wondering, why is it said that he chastised the Kshatriyas 21 times? Why does it have to be so many times?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, 21 times. So, apparently how it's explained is that he killed the Kshatriyas once, but there were so many of them, and many of their wives were still pregnant. So then he kept killing until the last vestige of that lineage of all the Kshatriyas was finished. So until that happened, yeah. So that was 21 times.
Thank you so much. So is it also, because it was said there that 3 times 7, so was it different generations, or was it?
Yeah, so it is, sometimes they say 3 generations as well. So that can be true as well, because he is still living, so he can survive 3 generations. But also, yeah, when I read that, how it's written, not 21, because in Sanskrit you can say 21. Vimsati is 20, and you can say ek vimsati, that would be 21. But instead of saying 21, it's saying 3 times 7. So yeah, I couldn't quite really figure out why it's put like that, but it could be the, generations, maybe, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, one more there, down here, Prabhu.
Just a very small comment with response to the discussion there, Prabhu. we say sometimes, I think in English, or it comes from the Bible, that a man lives for 10
Oh,
years, which is 320s,
Okay.
10.
all right. Yeah, sometimes so it's biblical also is there. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Thank you so much. We'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Really forgot books and so on.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama